Crystal Tower Information Whiskey 21530 Zulu, wind 060 at 5.
076 Mike Juliet, this is departure radar contact.
Hazardous weather information from Minnesota available on flight service frequency.
You've dialed in the Flying Midwest podcast, connecting aviators from across America's heartland, sharing news, information, and events from around the region.
Calling Nancy 53 on Oak Tower, Roger, turn left heading 070, runway 9er, clear for takeoff.
Sit back, relax, and join our crew for some hangar talk as we discuss a wide variety of regional aviation topics.
Departure 71143, flying flight, runway 28 left, switch takeoff, left 10 southbound.
And now, from our home at the Anoka County Blaine Airport, our checklist is complete, and we're ready for departure for another episode of the Flying Midwest podcast.
Contact departure, every flight.
What is going on, everyone? Jim here with the Flying Midwest podcast. So happy you're able to join us. On this episode, we're talking Girls in Aviation Day. We'll be joined by former guest Ambyr Peterson and Mina Carlson with the stars of the North chapter of Women in Aviation International. They'll talk with us about WAI as well as what to expect at this year's event. So strap in and let's take off into this episode of the Flying Midwest podcast. Welcome, everyone, to the Flying Midwest podcast. I am Jim. With me is Maddie. Hello, Maddie.
Hello.
Good day.
Yeah,
Change in frequencies. Good day.
It's Renaissance Festival season. What do you want?
Oh, okay, that's fair. All right, I don't know about you down in Missouri, but it has been hot up here in Minnesota the last week.
How dare you?
Did I say Missouri?
Did you do that on accident?
I did. Oh, my God.
Trying to get a rise out of me. I was like,
no.
How dare you? How dare you insinuate I would go anywhere near Missouri?
Let's try that all over again.
No.
Oh, I got to leave it now and just embarrass myself that I totally know where Maddie lives. It's Wichita, Missouri.
Wichita, Missouri.
Which is near Arkansas City, Oklahoma.
Yep. Hey, I stand my ground on that one. I think it was silly.
Our patron, the Burns Bug Blender, is going to he's going to hit both of us for this. So back to what I was trying to say. It's been hotter than the Dickens up here.
Yeah, it's been even hotter down. Well, actually, what was it today for you guys?
I don't know what it was today, but like Tuesday, it was upper 90s and like I think 1,000% humidity. I went outside and you know how when you go outside, sometimes when you wear glasses and they fog over?
Yeah.
My eyeballs did that because it was so hot, it was steamy out.
It used to happen to me in Florida. I don't miss that.
Yeah, now I know why I don't live in Florida.
I know why I don't live in Florida, but living in Kansas, not Missouri, in Kansas. Well, I'm sure Missouri's hot too. Oh my gosh. It's been, I think we had 3 or 4 day stretch that was over 105 every day.
Okay.
So it's finally calmed down a little bit. It was only 103 today. Still not great, but it is akin to walking into an oven.
Yeah.
It's literally too hot for humidity to exist. It just
cooks off right away or what?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. We'll tell that to people in Florida.
Well, they've made their own bed. They can.
So there's all kinds of people who are listening to this and going, what in the hell are they talking about?
Yeah.
It's been hot. Not a lot of flying for me.
Yeah, I actually haven't been doing a lot of flying either. It's just been too hot. I've been doing a lot of grounds and sims for my own sanity.
I actually did a ground this week.
Did you? What did you talk about?
I was teaching a little bit about aircraft instruments and not instrument flying, just the instruments themselves, the basics of it, and the engine gauges.
Awesome.
Helping to learn about the health of your engine, things like that. So it all comes into play.
Here's a question. What do you think
What's
of
that?
Mike Bush?
Mike Bush. Is that the baked beans guy? Bush's baked beans?
That's very funny. But no, he's the engine guy.
Engine guy. It doesn't. Why
he's
does that not ring
He's
a bell?
aggressively a fan of Lena Peake, and yeah, I mean, I don't have an opinion on him, but he's apparently very divisive.
Okay, I guess I don't know who he is. I've heard the debate. Lena Peake, Richard Peake. I I thought you were supposed to just leave it full rich all the time. Is that not right?
Yeah, you guys go through probably about 20 spark plugs a year, huh?
I mentioned that only because on the way back from Oshkosh, my partner in crime in the plane had to land before her intended destination because of some engine troubles that were potentially spark plug related. So I don't remember the official diagnosis, but suffice to say, some things got tuned up a little bit in the engine, and we're reviewing how we've been leading the aircraft in general. We don't have an EGT gauge in there it's operational, so it's, pull it back till it stumbles and then put a little bit more in. So
It's kind of the old school way to do it. That's how I was taught.
That's what we got. So that's what we get to work with. So no, just making sure that we're being really diligent about that. And we have been doing a lot of training in it. So, I mean, there's plenty of times where we're working the pattern, you're running full rich a lot. And
Yeah, I've made the executive decision it's not often, but sometimes when it just gets so hot, it's like, I'm pulling this bad boy back a little bit. This is full rich. We're just pulling it back a little bit just so we don't run super rich. That's like not great. So
yep, and that's kind of what we're going to start doing too. So the more you learn about the healthier engine. So
indeed,
there we go.
The more you know.
Okay, so we did news and events last time. We are in a stretch of time where we're putting out episodes just about weekly. So this is another one of those. So no sense in trying to dig up a whole bunch of news and events for week after week after week. We'll do that about every other week. So we're going to skip that this time. And you all get a reprieve from Oshkosh. We've been talking about that every week for, I think, the last month and a half. So no air adventure this time. And now time for something completely different. Then a Monty Python thing.
Something at least akin to that.
Yeah. You want to tell us what we're talking about, Maddie?
This episode, we are going to be talking about Girls in Aviation Day, which is an international event held by local women in aviation chapters, which is super awesome. So we are going to be talking with Ambyr Peterson and Mina Carlson. So we've had Ambyr on before. It's going to be awesome having her on again. And a new face, which is you're not going to see because this is a audio-only podcast. Mina Carlson, who works for MnDOT, so Minnesota Department of Transportation.
Yeah, they've got a lot to tell us about not just Girls in Aviation Day, but Women in Aviation International. So we look forward to chatting with them in just a few minutes.
But before we can get to the meat and potatoes, we have to afford our meat and potatoes. And now for our ad read.
That's a good point. We do have to pay for the meat and potatoes of the episode, and we don't have the time to stand in those old-timey Depression-era bread lines. Is it? Well, bread lines, soup kitchens.
Yeah, that's all part of the gig. So we're headed into another recession. So in order to keep us out of the soup kitchen, it's so bad. What,
it
too
is.
soon?
Who could we possibly offend this time? All right, let's pay some bills, okay? You know what we're going to talk about? It's Lightspeed Aviation and our friends over at Flying Eyes. So over to our friends with Lightspeed Aviation.
If you've ever wanted a headset, are you sick and tired of using the flight school headsets that have many ears, many ounces of sweat contained
So many
in them?
ears.
So
much
many
sweat.
ears. So much earwax. Disgusting. And the boom mics that were definitely chewed on by somebody. Yeah, who wants that?
Nobody.
If you're looking for either an entry-level ANR headset or a world-class ANR headset, Lightspeed has you covered. Not only do they have those, they also have flight bags and other cool things that you can check out as well. So don't pass up Lightspeed.
And as we've been talking about, their new Delta Zulu headset, which is their top-of-the-line headset, offers a lot of safety features such as carbon monoxide detection and the ability to play back your ATC audio. They also have certified pre-owned models as well as the opportunity to trade up from your old Lightspeed headset to the newest model. You can earn up to $400 in trade-in credits towards the latest in aviation headset technology. So if you are interested in checking out a new headset, or even if you want to check out their flight bags and other gear, go ahead and check out our affiliate link down in the show notes. Okay, over to our friends over at Flying Eyes. I've had my Flying Eyes for a while now, and they are probably the best sunglasses that I've ever owned. They are super lightweight. They are super comfortable. And as we've seen in recent social media posts from Fly with Bruno, those things are virtually indestructible. You can inadvertently, or in his case on purpose, put them under the tire of your aircraft, run them over, and you'll just have some scratches on the lenses. The frames themselves will hold up pretty well. And in the event that they do break, which according to Bruno's test, they probably won't, they also come with a lifetime warranty on the lenses and the frames. So if you want to check out these fantastic sunglasses and ditch your cheapo gas station sunglasses, check out our affiliate link for Flying Eyes, and you can get 10% off right now if you use our purchase code of FlyingMidwest10. If you're looking for either of these products and you want to help support our podcast, that's exactly what the affiliate links do. By using our affiliate links, that helps them track how much traction comes from our podcast to their sites. So that in turn helps sponsor the podcast. So check out both of those sites through our affiliate links if you want to check out those products and make a purchase.
If you don't want to make a purchase, say you already have sunglasses and a lovely headset, but you still want to support what we do, buy us a coffee, that kind of thing, think about heading over to our Patreon. We have multiple levels for whatever budget you may have, and that comes with varying levels of things you get from us, from blog posts to extra content, all kinds of fun stuff. We have a lot over there over at our Patreon. So if you want to support us, please consider heading over to our Patreon, and we'll see you there.
Well, see you there. See you.
Oh, no.
We are wrapping up the summer months quickly, and before you know it, it will be fall and winter in the Midwest. So we're adding some new sweatshirts, hoodies, and long sleeve shirts to our merch site. So be sure to check out our merch. And if you want to help represent the podcast and enjoy the crisp fall air in style, check out some Flying Midwest Podcast merch.
And get it in the most obnoxious color possible.
Absolutely. I think before we get into the interviews, we have just a couple more things to cover, including some congratulations that are in order.
Ladies and gents, I have some very important news.
But spit it out.
The man we know and love, Brian Turner, or is also known as Just Plain Silly, has earned not one, but 2 ratings in the past
2
week.
ratings.
2 ratings. Commercial single and commercial multi. Way to go, man.
Way to
That's
go,
awesome.
Brian. Keep chasing your dreams. I know that this stuff is important to you. You got a lot of hours that you want to build up and a lot of things that you want to accomplish. So just another step towards those dreams. So happy for you and keep it up. I know we said we weren't doing news and events this episode, but I realized I was going to mention one specific event. If you are in Minnesota, Wisconsin, or let's face it, we have airplanes. Let's just fly to Wisconsin. The Osceola Wheels and Wings event will be September 9th of 2023, and I will be finding my way out there to partake in that event. It also is going to have an air show, which will feature the one and only Kyle Franklin and his crazy, zany aircraft antics, as well as flying pancake breakfast, an air show, and a car show, all wrapped into one. And the admission for that event is free. But I think the bigger draw of that entire event, beyond all those things I just mentioned, is I'm going to be out there. So any of our listeners that want to come out and say hello or visit or what have you, come on out. I'd be happy to meet with any of our listeners and chat, take some photos like we forgot to do at Oshkosh. So hope to see you there. See you. Yeah. We're going to name the episode See Ya because of the amount of times that we've said see ya there or see this. So without further ado, we will bring on the 2022 AOPA CFI of the Year and one of the Girls in Aviation Day organizers, Ambyr Peterson, and from MnDOT's Department of Aeronautics, and also the Girls in Aviation Day, Mina Carlson. Mina, welcome to the Flying Midwest Podcast, and Ambyr, welcome back to the Flying Midwest Podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us to come chat with you guys tonight.
Happy to have you.
Yeah, tonight we're going to be excited to talk to you a little bit about just women in aviation and the Girls in Aviation Day. So excited to have you. So I think, Ambyr, you've done this before, so you know what's coming next with our Fast 5 questions. And that's our way to get our guests and ourselves warmed up and do kind of a rapid fire-ish questions where we ask you a quick question. You can expand a little bit if you wish. Ambyr, since you played this game before, I think that you could sit out unless you have something super awesome that you wish to contribute for an answer to our Fast 5 question. Does that work?
Sounds good. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Mina, you are in the hot seat.
Okay.
Favorite aviation movie?
I kind of like planes from back in the 70s and 80s, how un-PC it is. But yeah, I like planes.
Oh, airplane.
Yeah, airplane.
I heard planes and I was thinking Disney and Dusty Crop Hopper.
Yep,
and
yep. Yeah.
I like that movie too.
Yeah, because there's a line in there where the pilots are actually eating together, and one of the flight attendants comes up to the cockpit with like a fish, and like it's like half decrepit, half like real fish. And on the Air Force side, we actually have Air Force instruction that says pilots are to not eat simultaneously because there's a potential for them to get sick. So it's just funny to like watch those movies and see how it, like us older ones in the squadron know that that's a thing, but we reference it to the movie, and then we like see it in the black and white written for like one of our Air Force instructions, like pilots are not allowed to eat simultaneously. And then in the movie they come up with like fish, and one of the pilots just is like, oh, I think it was a fish. So one of the lines in the movie is like, so it's one of those things that we reference it frequently.
Well, I think airplane in general is just a good thing to reference just on a regular basis. I bring it up at work all the time, and I have that. My job has nothing to do with aviation, so.
Yeah.
My favorite is we just want to wish you both good luck. Something like that. We're all counting on you.
That may have been said to me recently in the flight deck. And it's
no kidding.
Yeah. Long story short, I'm hand flying. There's an emergency coming in, and it's IMC. And it was perfect because then I nailed it. And it really lit it up. But lighten up the mood in the flight deck. But it was great. Perfect. Nailed it.
All right. Next question for you, Mina. If you could fly any aircraft, and don't worry about the maintenance costs or fuel costs, you could fly anything you want, what would it be?
So for the longest time, it was going to be like a Christian Eagle or it was going to be a Kodiak. But last week or the week before, when we were all out at Oshkosh at AirVenture, I went to one of the STOL competitions.
Oh.
And, yeah. And all those Cubs and the specially designed, ultralights on steroids that were designed to fly backcountry.
Yeah.
I'd do that. I would totally do that. So, I mean, your tastes evolve over time, but yeah, totally do a STOL plane right now.
That's an awesome answer.
All right, the next one, kind of on the aircraft family of questions. In your opinion, what is the ugliest aircraft that's out there?
Oh my goodness.
See, no one expects that one. It's favorite this, favorite that. Nope, ugliest airplane. What do you think?
The ugliest airplane. Oh, boy. In all honesty, they do an injustice in the military with painting everything gray or green or black. Like, they just They ruin the planes, or they paint them in camo. Like, I think that is an injustice to them. So, this past spring, it was a Cessna Caravan, but the Kenyan Air Force, they painted it in camo. It was like green and brown. Yeah. It was a Caravan, and it was painted in green and brown camo. Functionality, okay, whatever, but good Lord. The paint adds the flair to the plane, the personality, the owner, etc. But yeah, I think the military screws up. I guess I can say that out loud. The military screws up on their paint.
Anyone who's been in the military for more than 4 seconds knows that the military screws some things up every once in a while.
And paint's heavy too, and they still paint it that dreaded green or dreaded black or dreaded gray.
Just something a little more flashy, like back in the World War II warbird eras, where they'd have nose designs.
Beautiful planes back then. Yeah, what happened?
Gray is what someone bought stock in that paint, and it was over. Some congressman has stock in that paint, I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Amber, do you have anything to contribute for ugliest aircraft? I forgot to ask you.
Anything with canards. That's my generic question answer on that. Like,
my dad hates the Long Easy. He thinks they're awful.
I just
for no reason other than that they're ugly.
I thought this was a good idea. Yeah, and wasn't recently on your podcast that I heard it was like if you asked AI how to make an ugly plane or whatever, and somebody was like, that was the response, is throw canards on it. I was like, nailed it. Yeah, that is exactly it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because we were talking about yoga poses. If she taught yoga at Oshkosh,
and they God, that
would be
so
one
funny.
of the yoga moves. All right, everyone, canard.
Exactly. Oh, so funny.
So I'm going to punt on this. I was going to ask a different question, but you brought up a good question I want to ask you now, Mina. Favorite military aircraft?
I'm super biased right now. So I am a military member, and I am on a flight crew. So my specific make and model is a Lockheed C-130, the Herc, and I'm on the H model. So I'm super biased. I have an opinion and affection towards this make and model. There's a lot of military star power that we have in airframe. I mean, the fighter jets, how cool are they? And look at the technology and look at the massive capability. It's a unique flying platform. Look at some of the historical stuff, man. I could talk days about any of the historical pieces that we still have and that still can fly. I'm partial. Maybe the P-51 Mustang is a beautiful, just listen to that engine when it initially starts and the purr of that engine. You can't get that in any other aircraft. Other military, like going up to a C-5, it's overwhelming. It's completely overwhelming. You're like, oh my God, somebody designed this. And, there's a crew that flies it. They have to climb 3 flights of ladders just to get to the cockpit. So you're in complete awe. Number one, that C-130, that plane I get to fly around in every once in a while. But then I've got kind of like my warbirds, and then I've got the monstrosities.
Can I pipe in with like my C-130 story from this weekend where...
No.
Okay, well, we're going to tell it anyway. So I've never been like, I've been like, oh, cool. And you see them taking off and like flying over Minnie and all that. I was at Split Rock Lighthouse on Sunday morning and I'm looking north at the lighthouse and I'm with a group of friends and I'm not even going, like this thing must have been 500 AGL, 1000 AGL. And you just hear it coming and then it shows up over Split Rock Lighthouse and like flies the coast. And it was just like all I wanted to do was have the biggest American flag I ever could and just like waved it. It was so amazing. And the ramp in the back was open and guys were just hanging out there. And I'm like, oh, this is the best story. And maybe that was like my like, it's okay you didn't go to Oshkosh. Here's your little mini air show from God
here's an
something.
air show just for you.
It was so magical, but you heard it and you're looking at the lighthouse and here it comes and it was the best thing ever. It was so
That is so cool.
It was.
Folks say, sound of freedom.
Well, we have one more question on the Fast Five in case we forgot that we're doing Fast Five.
Yeah, we've already got ting, 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 ting.
The last question, if you could meet anyone in aviation, dead or alive, and have a conversation with them, who would it be?
Yeah. What did Amber pick? I mean...
Did we ask you this one, Amber?
You did, and I had a random question. I'll refresh so Mina can think. It was, I wanted to meet who was like the flight engineer navigator of World War II and like how to drop those bombs with your E6B and like the map and stuff. I found that fascinating.
So a couple of them that pop up, the guy who originally, the Constellation, he invented the original Constellation. He was mad crazy. And I'm drawing a name blank on.
Oh, I know.
Who
is that?
He did movies. He built airplanes.
It's not Howard Hughes, is it?
Maybe it might have been Howard Hughes. Hughes something. He was a 40s, 50s person.
Sounds like Howard Hughes, like the
it
Howard
is Howard.
500.
Yep, Howard Hughes.
Okay. Yeah, so Howard Hughes. I knew the name, but not I could see the reference in the visual because his imagination. He had something in his imagination and he went after it and he built it. Like this was before we were regulated. This is before we had like safety as a part of the conversation. If he could make it fly 3.5 feet for 80 feet, he was good. Like that was the goal. And he went on to his next monstrosity. And he enjoyed his life, but he was also addicted to it.
I was going to make a joke, but now you remembered his name. I was going to say, would your first question be, what is your name?
Yeah.
I'm really inspired by you. What is your name? Well, Mina, you did a great job. There are no prizes and there's no points. But thank you for playing along with the Fast Five questions.
I enjoyed it.
Should we get into things and cover our the topic for the evening?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So, Amber, we've already spoken to you about your history in aviation, but Mina, it is your turn. Could you tell us a little bit about your aviation background?
I'm in a unique situation, I think, with where my careers, and I do say careers because there is a military one and there is a civilian one. Did I know that was going to be how it's going to end up 20 years ago? Absolutely not. So with that being said, on the military side, I'm a flight engineer on the C-130H models based in Minneapolis. I'm with the 96th Airlift Squadron. So otherwise known as a flying bike. I've been on 3 deployments in the last 4.5 years with the squadron in the eastern part of Africa in a country called Djibouti. And we were present and we were a front row witness to all of the political events that happened in Sudan this past spring. So it's interesting to, be in a frontline, front seat type position in a flying position when a world event happens like that. Last year, we were the first response unit for the hurt community when the whole Ukraine thing squared away and started off. I call it Europe in the spring last year. However, the undertone was a little bit different. We were supporting all of the NATO efforts with the Ukraine event. And then prior to that, I was in another fabulous place. I call it my fall vacation in the desert. So we gotta make light of these things. So
gotta do something.
Yeah, right. A year prior to that, I was over in a country called Qatar. In that capacity, it's a totally different walk of life that I engage in, just as a military aviator, and also being a woman military aviator, and then being a female flight engineer in the hurt community. So if you were to look at all of our numbers, and who's doing what and who's where, and I think hopefully our conversation later tonight will get into some of that workforce conversation, either civilian or military. But on a civilian side, right? So I'm a reservist, and the whole entire thing about the military thing, they say 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. Not as a flyer. As a flyer, I'm down at base a minimum of 6 times a month, if not more throughout the month. Flip my hat, put on my civilian hat. I am with Minnesota Department of Transportation, specifically Office of Aeronautics. Most recently, I was working as a heliport inspector for the state. And we've pivoted and reassigned my tasking within the office, and where office is investing and wanting to get into the outreach and make our residents aware of aviation aero education opportunities, both within state and externally, as well as how does aviation impact our state. Those are some unknown factoids within our flying community, as well as our young person. We're pivoting and changing, where can we go? And one of the reasons why is because I get all of my extracurricular activities that I'm partake in, kind of highlights some of these things that I'm passionate about, and that's just promoting the aviation stuff that happens in our state. For instance, I'm the event director for Girls in Aviation Day here in the Twin Cities, which just happens to be the largest, one-day aviation event of its kind in the world.
In the world? Wow.
Yeah. In Minnesota, right? What's going on in Minnesota? How did we get there? So,
wow.
That's me.
It is very cool to have a government entity say, hey, what you do is neat. Let's do more of that. Because that doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
Especially with airplanes.
Right.
Right. So, yeah. Well, there was a couple instances over the past year that my boss was like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, I gotta do some other stuff outside of MnDOT. And he's like, okay, what is this all about? So he got tapped in and he was kind of interested. And we've had some leadership tap into as well within DOT. And they were like, hey, we understand that transportation is a viable resource for workforce. And so it's a big picture, right? A big global picture. And then they're kind of peeling away the onion layers. And, oh, yeah, by the way, aviation needs workforce. How do we tap into that? What's the conversation like? So that's kind of where it stems from right now.
Amber, I didn't want to just brush you off. It's been a while since we've had you on. Do you have any fun life updates to give us?
No. Well, nope. I'm doing the whole probably regional pilot thing, and it's everything that I had hoped it to be, which is wonderful because I think last time we chatted, I was still living the reserve life,
I
which
think
is
so.
not everything that everybody wants it to be. And then I CFI too much on the side, because I love flight instructing. So that's kind of the deal. My boyfriend threatens that I need to stop doing so much. So there you go. And then I do Girls in Aviation Day. Yay!
Yay!
But it's also rewarding when you see how much impact we're making to the little people that they
I love that you still flight instruct that much on the side. I think we all know that there's so many instructors out there that hit their 1,500 hours and turn into a pumpkin and off they go. So I love that you still have that connection to helping pilots and getting them, through the progressions of becoming a pilot and the stuff you do with the Girls in Aviation Day and all that stuff. So
thanks.
Ambyr's fantastic to fly with. So if you ever had a chance to fly with her, this goes for anybody. She's a fantastic instructor. I mean, she helps me float all of my landings. We never touch around.
Because I'm yelling, go around. No, just kidding.
And I have a few certificates that say I'm supposed to be able to touch the ground by now. The comfortable cockpit with Ambyr. She's not.
So let's talk a little bit about Women in Aviation International, which is, if I'm not mistaken, the sponsor and what's behind the Girls in Aviation Day, right?
So Women in Aviation International is an international organization. It's headquartered in Ohio almost 3 decades ago, if not maybe 4 decades ago. And it was because women have been in the industry for close to 60-some years. I mean, we've been around since the dawn of aviation, but just she noticed that the trend wasn't, that gender diversity wasn't happening. So she created an education to self-promote and educate, inspire, get involved, expose the different careers. And so that's the initial intent of the organization. And then it's spread, the messaging has spread. They, went ahead and started creating chapters. Here in Minnesota, we have a local chapter. It's called Stars of the North. And then I think globally, Ambyr, you have those numbers, how many chapters there are globally, but
like the number on the website was 14,000 members. We're in 78 countries. And then, there's 39 chapters in the Midwest. So a good amount of chapters in the Midwest, really.
It's a place for women and men to come together to seek education. Education being like, hey, I'm interested in aviation. Like, I just don't know where to go or what to do. Mentorship, where, that's going to be a trend topic for the next several years to come. I think you're going to start to hear about mentorship and how to retain, young persons within the industry. I think it's just more than just an organization, an international organization. There's a lot of initiatives underneath that umbrella.
When did you both get involved with Women in Aviation?
So I got involved, I was down at Sun and Fun when I first was thinking of flying again. And my cousin's daughter was like, you should join Women in Aviation. Like, it'll, like, with networking and with some direction and some help on, like, what so many of us run into, like, how do I even make this happen? Where do I start? So I literally just signed up for national down at Sun and Fun. And then got involved with Stars of the North 6 or 7 years ago now, really just with their Girls in Aviation Day and how impactful the potential it was. And I really honestly just wanted to, like, get more involved in the community, and so that was in our area, like, our big event where we spend a lot of time with that and interacting with other folks. So that was how I got involved with Women in Aviation.
And mine was a little bit different. So I went to school. I went to a private aeronautical university down in Daytona Beach, Florida, where Peggy was actually an adjunct professor at the time. So, and she had one of the founding chapters in Daytona Beach. So my exposure started in college. And at that time, going to college, there wasn't that very many females at all. So to find a student org that actually promoted women, it wasn't, I didn't recognize it as the name Women in Aviation. It was just women in aviation, if you can kind of decipher the difference. Just because, like, where I went to school, I was like the only girl for vast majority of my classes. So just having that support, that was literally my exposure. And that's kind of where I started.
Yeah, I've heard really wonderful things about Women in Aviation in the 99s and all those women organizations. I follow along. I just broke CFI life. I can't afford any extra things. So I follow the Facebooks, and I think it's neat.
Yeah, and that's what so many people do. And because I'm on, like, those other organizations too. So I've chosen kind of, like, our local chapter to be my actual in-person and impactful, but just like rolling out with what you said, Maddie, is there's so many people that are interested in it, and I'll talk to people like, oh, you actually need me, or this is actually like a thing where people do. It's like, yeah, like get off of Facebook, come join us, interact, hit an event, do whatever. And I understand the CFI life 100%, where you have enough time to like sleep, maybe shower, and go to work. But individuals that perhaps have more time, or individuals that know little people that would be interested in our big event of the year, be time to kind of break away from the Facebook and head on out to meet us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you two are pretty involved with the Stars of the North chapter. So what kind of work is going on in the Midwest with that chapter and with Women in Aviation International?
So that's like a two-part question. And I'll talk to Women in Aviation in the Midwest on the first level. There are chapters in their probationary all throughout the Midwest. I think Amber alluded to close to 40-some chapters within the Midwest territory. So there's chapters coming out all the time, and they're joining the bandwagon and the initiative of getting Girls in Aviation Day events in their local area. But some of them are brand new. So let's take it down to the local level, where Stars is, a larger chapter. We have, a membership of several hundred folks, perhaps inactive, active, kind of ebbs and flows throughout the year. We get actually invited to talk to and mentor other chapters. So for instance, Madison has reached out numerous times and asking like, hey, you guys do this, how do you do the event thing? Or how you had this type of partnership and you guys did this workshop, how did that work? And recently Fargo started a brand new chapter. I think it was Fargo or Grand Forks, right? Some volunteers reached out, got through all of their charter process. And they said, okay, how do we have a kickoff meeting? Just how do we even get people to a kickoff meeting? What do we do? And we're like, and several of us took that opportunity to run with it and kind of host and guide. As our chapter has become well known within the Midwest, other chapters are, that's the thing. We all network, we all reach out to each other. We all kind of like lean into each other's expertise and products that are available. So the big umbrella part of it where WAI is saying, hey, create a chapter, become a voice, become a resource, et cetera. And then you have at the local level where, we're definitely a conduit from left hand to right hand and trying to make that, that organization thrive and stay in business.
Yeah. And like with that, a little add-on is, so we've had one of the like longest running Girls in Aviation Days. And so some of the first attendees, like when they were teenagers, they're now in college and now in college chapters and spreading kind of that wisdom on as well. So starting to see moving the needle towards more women getting involved from the folks that we impacted in our Girls in Aviation Day, and then expanding it out throughout the Midwest and the country for that matter, which has just been really, really nice.
So yeah, go find a local chapter and join a chapter or become a...
You can find a local chapter at our national. It's pretty easy to navigate to. And then you can find a local Girls in Aviation Day as well. And there's, I counted, there's 22 Girls in Aviation Days in the Midwest area.
Just in the Midwest. That's awesome.
So you can find one in state, if not within an hour's drive, So definitely folks should attend. We do the biggest. We like to think the best. Some of them are only, 25, 50 people, but it's all about moving that needle.
Yeah.
It's a win.
So, enough beating around the bush. Let's talk about Girls in Aviation Day. What is Girls in Aviation Day? Could you tell us a little bit about how this event works, what you do for it?
We're turning the corner on almost 10 years. This year is going to be year number 9. But 10 plus years ago, when Peggy was still, with the organization before she retired, the data was still showing that females, while we've now been in the industry, since the dawn of aviation, the numbers just weren't moving. And I think if you look at the whole tier structure of like, well, except for the segment of flight attendants, the rest of the industry and all the jobs, we only make up about 20%. Females only make up about 20% of the workforce. And if you start breaking down those numbers even more, at that point, 10 years ago, I think we only had 5% in commercial airlines, less than 0.5% in tech ops. So, I mean, the numbers just weren't moving, right? So her thing was, how do we get there? How do we get there? We're going to have the baby boomers are going to start to retire in about 20 years or so. That talked about pilot shortage was a thing 10 years ago. So in those conversations was, okay, how do we introduce aviation? How do we get the word out about aviation? And that was the goal. You can have a normal job in aviation. You can be a marketing person. You can be an accountant. You can be a finance person. You just work in a unique environment. How do we get that message out? How do we engage sought after pilot, with a young person? So Girls in Aviation Day was born. Like, I keep on returning back to that: inspire, engage, interact, expose, just grab the young person, inspire them, and engage them. Now we're finding out through, this year being our 9th year, that we have to look into mentorship for retaining. And then, oh, by the way, if we're now mentoring and we're retaining, we have to sustain that. How is that sustainable? So how do we get now private enterprise? How do we get government involved in that? So the conversation for Girls in Aviation Day on a global scale, the initial initiative was, let's just get the word out that this is a viable industry to take a career in. That's a big global picture with Girls in Aviation Day.
So it's really just exposing the young people to the idea of aviation in multiple aspects. So how can people help? The biggest that we ask is spreading the word. A lot of what we get is a couple of weeks after the event. Oh, I wish I knew this happened. So-and-so would have loved to come. My niece would have loved to come. So spread the word, socials, word of mouth, school, back to schools would be great. Volunteer. We really need your help volunteering. Do not need an aviation background. If you do, that's great. But, we need people checking people in, etc. And then if you do have a cool aircraft at all, we'd love to have you still. And then last but not least, of course, if you're able to donate, we would love that. So a little bit about our event itself. We have essentially 5 main areas that I'll speak to. First of which is the exhibitors. So we bring different companies and organizations in from around the area. Right now, we are up to, I believe it's 120 people that will be speaking. And gosh, it's got to be 40 or 50 organizations. And that's anywhere from our 121s, our Endeavors, our Deltas. We've got flight schools from around the area. We've got flight universities from all over the Midwest that will be coming in. MnDOT will be there. Some of the cool kind of niche careers, I'll call them. So your lifelink pilots, your DNR will be there, that kind of stuff. I mean, seeing that lifelink chopper when it comes in is honestly so cool how those individuals can move that aircraft. And I think helicopters are beating air into submission. So I think it's cool. It's pretty cool, the talent of those folks. So, honestly, the high school folks interacting with those organizations is absolutely great, as well as the little people seeing that, oh, wow, that pilot is a woman and that is potentially something I can do. Drones will be there as well.
Yeah. So
that's kind of our exhibitors. That takes up half of a very large hangar. Then the other half of that very large hangar is the education. We rebranded it as our Discovery hangar this year. That is my baby, as you can imagine. So we have, depending year to year, somewhere between 12 to 15 activities for the young people to engage in. And so we break it up, like historically, we obviously have kind of your piloting activities. We also include mechanics activities, aerospace STEM activities, quality. So just as sampling of what we might do is, I mentioned that mechanics shortage. We're going to have 2 different mechanics activities this year, one of which is, if anybody's seen a mechanic use lock wire and that lock wire tool to kind of twist it up, it's pretty cool. We have them put beads and charms onto lock wire, use that tool, make a bracelet, and we sneak that STEM, that mechanics skill, into that activity. And we've got, like a caliper out for them to look at and some pictures, and we try to get whatever female or male mechanics are there that actually talk about what they do and how they could get involved in it. We sneak STEM into something called our Bernoulli cannon. So we put smoke gun in a big garbage and we pound out smoke at the girls, which is just fun. It like excites them and it gets them excited about aviation. What's that? It's Bernoulli. Yay. So that's really some of the things that we do, that we sneak STEM and education into our different activities. So that's our educational area. Then you go outside and we have all of our static aircraft, somewhere between like 10 to probably 25, 30 statics outside. Last year we had a HERC, which was the most successful of the activities where the girls could actually go in and talk to that entire workforce. Endeavor brings in a CRJ 700 as long as they can. Lifeline comes in with their chopper, DNR. MAC, the Minneapolis Airport Commission, comes in with their snow plows. They get to pay to plow. It's all pretty much exciting. It's entertaining. Our fourth big thing is something we call a crooked path. We introduced this last year. And as most of us know, getting to a career in aviation is not clear cut. It's not, I want to be an accountant and I go get an accounting degree. So what we do is we get a panel of female professionals up that the girls, they'll talk to their journey, their crooked path, if you will, words of wisdom, and take a Q&A from the individuals at the event. So that's more of probably more of a junior high school type of forum, but we're excited for that. And it's definitely very successful last year. Last but not least is our Rising Star program. And I guess the biggie we haven't talked about is this entire event is free. This is like a mini air show, and the entire thing is free. You get free crafting, free walk around an airplane. It's really cool stuff. So this last part is our Rising Stars program. It's for high school age girls, and this does have a cost because it's extra effort involved with it. But the great thing about this is the girls are going to be, what is it? Kept at 20, is that right, Mina?
This year, yep, 25.
25.
Young. Yep.
So they're going to be able to network and interact with other girls that also want to be in the aviation field, which is the big thing. They're not going to feel alone. They're going to have other individuals on their socials that they can text back and forth with, hey, what are you doing? Or where are you going to school? Or, oh my gosh, I soloed. That kind of excitement and realizing that they're not in this female-only bubble, or the non-female bubble is so important to keep them engaged and feel like they do have a community. Notice how I have been in general saying people or, little individuals. We do welcome boys to our event and men as part of Women in Aviation and our chapter. And a lot of people ask why, or can I bring my son? And the answer is very much yes. We welcome all. And for me, when I walk into the cockpit of an airline and I'm about to honestly probably sit down next to a man, I would like whatever affirmation I can have that I'm not going to be judged because of my gender. And so if we can expose men and boys to female pilots, to female aviators, to women in engineering, to become that more acceptance of it, then that's only going to help me as I walk into the cockpit as well. So that's my selfish on that. The second thing is really just letting little boys know that women can be aviators and can be in aviation. Scary fact is one of my cousins, she has an 8-year-old son, and she announced to her sister that women cannot be pilots. And
that's helpful.
Yeah, right. So his mother immediately signed him up for the first Girls in Aviation Day. Like, let's change that, right? But it was one of those, like, she talked about it. She's like, do you know your cousin Amber and your cousin, another female cousin, like, are pilots? He's like, nah, I've never seen one. I was like, yeah, because he used to walk around the airport for 4 days and got stranded in Atlanta and never saw a female pilot.
Oh, wow.
So that was area right there of, yes, we do need to let the little boys
Yeah.
know too that women can do this. It's totally cool.
So there's something in our talking about Girls in Aviation Day that we didn't cover. When and where is this event occurring?
It is September 23rd, and the majority of the national and worldwide events are also September 23rd. Ours is from 10 to 3 in Eden Prairie at the Flying Cloud Airport. It'll be on the south side of the airport, and one of our great sponsors, JetLinks, is allowing us to have the event there. And there'll be signs to help you bring in as well.
How many people are you expecting for the event?
We're hoping to have 2,500.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Now, and like we said, that we are the biggest. We like to think the best in the world as well. But even if you're just going to like a 25, 50 person event, you're the kids to get an experience out of it. But yeah, ours is big. And it's right around, for those of you in the Midwest, right over the corner. It is not a fly-in event, just to clarify that, unless you did agree to show your aircraft as a static.
Awesome.
No one wants to see a sundowner, so it'll be fine. I'll just keep my sundowner at home.
I'm just going to add, Amber, you may not have been aware of this, but we are going to add a forum to our schedule. We're just going to jam pack more stuff into our schedule. It's specifically geared towards the parents. Like I said, talking earlier about the feedback. The feedback I received over the last 2 years is my daughter's really interested in aviation, but I don't know how to support her.
Oh.
So we're going to do a forum. We're going to do a forum and say it's specifically for the parents. Hey, your daughter's interested in aviation. Now what? Parents are super stoked to see that excitement in their daughter. And a lot of them don't know what to do next. What happens next? So especially if they're not from an aviation community or have tapped into it, or they're not in the community themselves, there's a hurdle. So we're going to try it. We're going to see, what type of response we get and see what the parents have to say, and then we'll give them some tools.
That's awesome.
I think it's a missed opportunity if we didn't at least try to have a conversation with the parents.
Oh, for sure. That is a great idea.
Especially because, teenagers, although like teenagers are tech savvy nowadays, like most of them can use the internet, it's still not an easy, like, oh yeah, you just go to school for accounting. Just like Amber said, it's not that easy. And especially getting started, especially knowing like the ins and outs of like even something as simple as MedExpress, like because of, the stuff nowadays. Like I'm not going to get into the medical stuff, but that was just an example. Parents don't know. They're told to be honest, so they are. And then, their kid is going to have problems, not because of any fault of anybody, but, having that guidance and getting started, getting plugged into a school and getting a ground school and all that stuff like that is going to be super, super helpful. I think that's lovely that you guys are doing that.
We do highly encourage folks to sign up ahead of time, and you can find that at starsofthenorth.org and then click events, and you'll see Girls in Aviation Day. Like I said, it is a free event, but if you sign up ahead of time, that's really going to help us plan numbers. And then also, there's always that little bit of a sign your life away that we have to do in this day and age, right? And if you click that ahead of time versus at the event, it's just going to save everybody some time. So we definitely encourage everybody to sign up in advance. If for some reason you can't, we don't turn folks away at the door, though.
So as of yesterday, we had 11 rising stars already signed up, and we had 600 persons already registered.
Wow, that's great.
That's fabulous.
Yeah. So
Very
we are
good.
well on that track to get at 2,500 mark. So, some of just random stats out there. This team of 11 or 12 people throughout the year probably produces about 800 volunteer hours for us to create our event. That's not including the army of volunteers this event requires. On average, our event now has grown. We need about 250, 275 volunteers day of to help us manage the event. Yep.
And we only have 40 right now. That's another 200 we need.
Yeah.
So,
yes. Volunteer registration is wide open. So I mean, it's a volunteer event, right? So you got to think of like, okay, how are we putting this together on a volunteer platform, volunteer basis? Oh, by the way, it's still free. It does come with a standard show budget. So that's where kind of Amber talked about, we have a lot of conversations throughout the year, talking to donors and sponsors,
Sure.
getting this event and the intangibles that those companies get. So there's multi-facets that happen throughout the year. Our Girls in Aviation Day, I'm super proud of our team, and I'm super proud of, the product that we produce and the notoriety that our event gets on both a national and a global scale. Like, I get enthusiastic talking about it.
Good. We need enthusiasm.
We
need
do.
Enthusiastic people talking about aviation. It's not this stuffy, boring, old boys club thing. It's the coolest. It's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. So to your point, that culture shift, that the element that's missing in the industry right now is culture, like cultural shift that is needed. Like, you're gonna see, I think, hopefully the next 5 years is that conversation about cultural shift. Aviation in its birth was the good old boy club because that's how the system was designed. Women today, fast forward, we don't want to be excluded. We want to be carved in, right? The plane, if you look at the plane doesn't care who designed it, who engineered it, who flight tested it, or who is manipulating the controls. The plane doesn't. It is us that have segregated. And now we're just so the conversation I think you're going to start to see is about that cultural shift in terms of you're just going to carve females, the whole conversation in. You're not going to carve them out. And guess what? You're qualified. You belong right there where you're applying and moving forward to. You're going to get carved in. But
I think you're right. Well, Maddie, I think it's time.
I think it is also time.
I think we're going to start with Mina. Do you have an unpopular aviation opinion?
Yeah.
Let's see who we can piss off in this episode.
I know. I was like, I'm going to watch my words. George Jetson, right? I grew up watching George Jetson. I love George, the cartoon. I love the whole concept. I like the characters. I like the little bubble thing he flew in. It was amazing. Okay, now let's go ahead 40 years, because realistically, that was only 40 years ago that cartoon existed, and that cartoon actually placed itself in today's timeline, like in the 20s and 30s and 40s. We're in a day and an age where the technology, in our lifetime, the folks that are here in our lifetime, we're witness to this frontline technology. That's this emergent technology. We may not see this again except for supersonic flight, right? Supersonic flight will eventually come back, but we've touched the moon. We've been to the moon. We got that technology. We understand the flight safety of it, and we understand the risks of it. So that's a part of, the generation before us. We're witness to this emergent technology with this drone stuff. There's a lot going on in it. We know all of our safety stuff. We've got experts in the field that know our safety stuff. We've got a government agency that is employing all that safety stuff and the rules around air travel in our airspace. We've got a lot of innovative thinkers. We've got, 300 different designs that are out there. None of them have been flight test approved yet. We've got just a lot of kitchens in the cook, or a lot of, what is it?
We got a lot of cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah,
Cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, cooks in the kitchen. It's a messy conversation right now, and it's fast and it's furious. The technology is faster than the other folks that need to be in the conversation can support it. So it's going to get there. It totally is. George Jetson made it so. George Jetson lived that lifestyle. So we're going to get there. But just this interim process, and I'm a witness, right? I'm not a player. I'm a witness. But, I had this time with the heliports and how they're going to play into the conversation on a local and also on a national scale. And just I'm on the sideline. It's a tough conversation. And then plus you've got some of the old adage of man, you need to have a pilot in the cockpit. It cannot be like you. So I was like, George Jetson was in the cockpit, but then he wasn't because his car just showed up. And and you've got a lot of great platforms that are coming out, UPS, Amazon Prime, Uber. They've all bought in lock, stock, and barrel, and they're in it. They're researching, they're developing, they're in test, they're grabbing test airspace, they're doing all of that type of stuff. So it's coming fast and furious, but we have a lot of different players and it's a sloppy attempt. But here we are in the midst of it. We're a decade into this eVTOL unmanned systems, and I don't think it's where it needs to be. But I think it's a mismanagement.
I think that you've got some good points there, that there is so much happening all at once. And some of those things aside, I think there's so many different aspects of certain federal aviation administration agencies. I totally named them and I wasn't going to. Let me try that again without naming the FAA specifically so they don't come after me with the FISDO.
What did you do?
Yeah. We heard what you said on your little podcast, and I'm just going to be, oh, you listened.
Yeah.
There's a lot of players, and I think that certain agencies are having a difficult time keeping up with all those changes.
Absolutely. And it's not for a lack of smart people.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, absolutely.
They have those think tanks all over the place, but we also know our industry is a safety-driven industry.
All right, Amber, round 2 of your unpopular aviation opinion.
My unpopular aviation opinion is that we are pushing kids towards getting their degree and being a pilot. And in my unpopular opinion is going to university is great, but you should get your degree in something else because you don't know you want to be a pilot. And you don't know when you have kids if you're going to want to be a pilot. And you don't know if you get in a car accident when you're 23 and you lose your first class medical, what your options are going to be. There's no real advantage to going to school to be a pilot. It's usually more expensive. And then that is what you have your degree in. And you don't have other options associated with, or not as many per se if you were, say, to get your accounting degree, right?
Sure.
So I try to push individuals to Part 61 if it is within their financial means to not get the financial aid for that reason. You just don't know. And I'm flying with people now in their 20s who are like, yeah, this is something I thought it was going to be. And you're like, ooh, that's too bad.
Like, you just spent a lot of money to figure that out, didn't you?
Dude, yeah, that's a shame. Yeah, So that's my unpopular professional opinion. Yep.
My only thing I'll add on to that is, in my profession too, like something that I was taught pretty early on, and some of the like resiliency and mental health and wellness stuff in our profession is that have a backup plan. Every 5 years, reevaluate your exit strategy. Because if you get in a wreck, if you get hurt, what is your plan? Where are you going to go? What are you going to do?
Yep. 100%.
Thank you both so much for coming on. And
thanks so much.
It's been a pleasure meeting you, Mina, and always a pleasure having you on, Am. I almost called you a different name, but your name is for sure Amber.
But that's fine. All right. Look forward to talking to you again sometime.
All right.
Yeah, I'm excited. The podcast. Let me know. Send out the link.
Oh, you will for sure get that. All right. Thanks so much, both of you.
All right.
Have a great night.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Well, thank you, ladies, once again for coming on this episode of the Flying Midwest podcast. I, for one, am very excited for Girls in Aviation Day, although I will not be able to make the Minnesota one. I'm going to try to work with my local Women in Aviation chapter to try to get ours down to Wichita going.
Yeah, they talk about the Minnesota one. It's a great event. There's a lot of great things they're pulling together for that. So certainly if you're in the area, encourage you to check that out, and we can encourage more girls and ladies to get involved in aviation. But also, this is an international event. So if you're looking for an event near you, we will put a link in the show notes for where you can find more about Women in Aviation International.
Well, Jim, this has been really fun. But we're always looking ahead here at the Flying Midwest podcast. So what's in store for next episode?
That's a great question. Our next episode, we recorded live at AirVenture. It will be with Penny Levin, who is a psychologist and a CFI. She is also a safety consultant who works alongside the Air Safety Institute from AOPA. And she's going to talk to us about some of the mental toughness and mental health issues facing aviation today.
So we already talked about it, so I won't bore you with it again. But if you would like some merch or to support us on Patreon, the links will be in the show notes. We would love your support.
Sure would. And if you are interested in being a future guest on the podcast, or if you have an episode idea or just want to reach out, you can contact us on any of our social medias or at flyingmidwestpodcast@gmail.com.
We really appreciate What?
Before we end, there's one thing I have to read to you.
Oh,
This is really important. Everyone, stick around for a second. We have email to read.
we have an email?
Yeah.
We got an email?
We did.
Oh my god.
Speaking of, if you want to reach out to the Flying Midwest podcast, we have an email. I got to pull it up here. Dear Sir or Madam, I think it's really both. It's me and you. I would like to take this opportunity to comment on the quality of the Flying Midwest podcast merch that we have received. I find my shirt to be relaxed, tailored, and ultra comfortable. My wife remarked that her shirt was as perfect gets. What with it being soft but stretchy, a little longer than a standard t-shirt, and figure flattering. She is so looking forward to wearing her flowy tank top, as it is versatile enough for a workout or a night out on the town. These shirts are by far the finest aviation t-shirts we own. We realize that there are other aviation-related t-shirts available online on sites that brag men's premium t-shirts in stock we will print as soon as it is ordered. But I think that's a bold statement and is just plain silly. Ha 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 ha. Just plain silly. Once again, let me thank you for the quality products you have made available. When will cat sizes be available? So it's just wait a minute. This is my dad.
Is it?
Down at the bottom, a picture of my father wearing a Flying Midwest podcast t-shirt and his lovely wife, Deb. Thanks a lot, Dad. We appreciate the email. If people who are not my dad or Maddie's parents could email us or contact us, we sure appreciate it. But hey, thanks for the great review, Dad. Glad you appreciate the Flying Midwest podcast merch. And thanks for your support. All right, now we can be done.
Oh my gosh. Here I thought it was gonna be Brian.
No, it
For
wasn't.
some reason. I don't know why. Thank you everyone for sticking around this long. We appreciate your virtual attendance. And until next time.
Yeah, that's okay. Virtual. I didn't know we were taking a roll. Is there a quiz after this episode, or?
Well, if you keep talking about it, there will be.
All right. Well, quiz next episode, and if you could all read chapter 3 for our Penny 11 episode, we sure appreciate that too. All right. Until next time.
See ya.
See ya.
God.
Come on, that was a fun ending.
Flight Chef 536, contact Minneapolis Center 132.35 today.
Thanks so much for joining us on the Flying Midwest podcast. Until next time, podcast service terminated, squawk VFR, frequency change approved. Good day.
We'll get towards this episode's feature presentation. That's stupid. The whole thing was stupid.
All right, this episode we are going to be talking about girls in aviation. Wow. We started out strong and then I totally went.
You did. I'll let you
This
try
episode?
again.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey.
We're going to talk about something else. Something to bit. We're going to talk
Yeah,
about something different.
else.
Yeah.
Say talk. Oh my gosh.
Words are hard.
Words are really hard. I spent all my wording today.
This has gotten out of hand, Maddie.
You know what? It was never in hand to begin with. No, why do I keep saying it like that? Oh my god. I feel like I'm drunk without any of the effects except for word vomit and none of it's helping.
Thanks for that bit. I appreciate that.
Right.
I'm going to use that later. I think we recovered that fairly well, didn't we?
Yeah. Somehow
You did a
we
great
made
job.
it.
Thank you. And you can get 10% off now if you use damn it, Maddie.
What did I do?
You didn't do anything.
So can't wait to have them on. It was really fun to record. Let's say that. Can't wait to. Let's just take a pause. Shut up. Okay.
Breathe, Maddie.
I'm gonna hear that later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
I have moments where I'm like, I can't remember.
Not me. I never make those mistakes or forget anything. Just don't cross-check that with my wife. She will deny it.
As far as can I say anymore? Like I'll just
You
say
can
it like
say it as
5
many times
times
as you
in a
want.
row.
Sure. She is so looking forward to wearing the flowy tank top as a versatile enough for a workout or at night. Let me try that again.
Next up, Flying Midwest Podcast lingerie.
Yeah.